Okay, it's 7:30, so let's get started. Good evening and Happy New Year, everyone. I want to welcome you all and call to order this scheduled Planning Board Reorganization meeting on this day, January 19th, 2026. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I hereby announce that this meeting is being held in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Open Public Meeting Act. Proper notice of meeting dates has been given to the Morris NewsBee and the Morris County Daily Record and posted on the bulletin board in the Borough Hall. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. Just a notice to members of the planning board and borough staff, any use of electronic devices during this meeting shall be used solely for the purposes of borough business. Thank you. Karen, roll call, please.
Mr. Wolff?
Here.
Mr. Malpere?
Here.
Mr. Bezold?
Here.
Mrs. Steckert?
Present.
Mr. Cianciata?
Present.
Mr. Houston?
Here.
Mayor Carr?
Present.
Mrs. McCluskey?
Here.
And Mr. Garavaglia?
Present.
And I will say that the borough engineer, borough planner, borough attorney, borough planner, borough engineer, and borough traffic consultant are all present.
Okay, great, thank you. At this time, I would like to turn the meeting over to Mayor Carr for the election of officers for 2026.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening. This is the Morris Plains Planning Board Reorganization meeting of January 19th, 2026. First order of business is the reorganization of the Morris Plains Planning Board for 2026. Mr. Ross Malpere and Mr. Bart Cianciata as Class 4 members, respectively, to replace Stephen Augenblick and Ron Kelly terms. Mr. Bezold was reappointed as a Class 4 member, and Ms. Mary Ann Steckert was reappointed as Class 2 member. Mr. William Houston was reappointed as a Class 3 member, representing the governing body, and myself was appointed as a Class 1 member. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Ross Malpere and Mr. Bart Cianciata to the Planning Board. Thank you. The next order of business is the nomination of board chair to serve in 2026. Do I have nominations for a chair?
I would like to nominate Mike Garavaglia as chair.
Are there additional nominations? Being no further nominations, I declare the nominations closed and ask for a roll call on the nomination of Mike Garavaglia as
Okay,
chair.
can I have a second on that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll second.
Second by
Okay.
Andrew Wolff.
Andrew Wolff or,
Yeah.
all right. Mr. Wolff?
Yes.
Mr. Malpere?
Yes.
Mr. Bezold?
Yes.
Mrs. Steckert?
Yes.
Mr. Cianciata?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mayor Carr?
Yes.
Ms. McCluskey?
Yes.
And Mr. Garavaglia?
Yes.
Do I have nominations for a vice chair?
I would like to nominate Mr. Bezold.
Is there a second?
I'll second the nomination.
Second by Mr. Houston. Any additional nominations? Being no further nominations, I declare the nominations closed and ask for a roll call on the nomination of John Bezold as vice chair. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wolff?
Yes.
Mr. Malpere?
Yes.
Mr. Bezold?
Yes.
Ms. Steckert?
Yes.
Mr. Cianciata?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mayor Carr?
Yes.
Ms. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Garavaglia?
Yes.
And I'd like to congratulate Mike and John on their appointments. We'll be carrying this in 2026, and as I've done since I've become mayor, is just take a few minutes. I go to each board and just want to thank everybody that comes out and volunteers for these boards and commissions that the borough needs. So the planning board, board of adjustment, board of health, rec, shade tree, all these things is really what makes the borough go around. And having volunteers that dedicate, well, I told these new guys, it's only one meeting a month, usually only an hour or so, so we'll go with that. But the time and the effort, you know, away from your families or at home, be watching the playoff game tonight in college football, not coming out in the cold, but, you know, I for one, and I know the residents of Morris Plains certainly appreciate everybody's time and efforts on all these planning boards. And really, it's the volunteers that make this town go round, and you're part of that, and I appreciate it. So thank you all very much. Thank you. I turn the meeting over to the chair.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Carr. The next order of business tonight is to adopt a resolution approving the meeting dates for 2026, which is Resolution 26-01. Planning Board Resolution number 26-01, Notice of Meetings. Be it resolved that the Planning Board of the Borough of Morris Plains in the County of Morris and State of New Jersey on this 19th day of January 2026 as follows. Whereas Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of the State of New Jersey for 1975, known as the hereinafter designated as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires notification of meetings of public bodies as therein defined in the manner therein set forth. Now, therefore, for purposes of compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, aforesaid, the Planning Board of the Borough of Morris Plains hereby makes the following designations. 1. The Morris NewsBee is hereby designated as the official newspaper to receive notice of meetings as required by any and all sections of the Open Public Meetings Act. It appearing that said newspaper is most likely to inform the local public of such meetings. The Daily Record is utilized from time to time for additional publication for all matters required by law to be published. The Daily Record is not hereby designated as an official newspaper of the Borough of Morris Plains. 2. The location of the posting of the notice of meetings shall be the bulletin board of the Borough Hall. 3. The sum of $5 is hereby fixed as the amount to be paid by any persons requesting individual notice of meetings as provided in Section 14 of the Open Public Meetings Act. 4. The regular meetings of the Planning Board for the year 2026 shall be February 9th, March 16th, April 20th, May 11th, June 15th, July 20th, August 17th, September 21st, October 19th, November 16th, December 7th, and January 18th, 2027 at 7:30 p.m. 5. All meetings of the Planning Board shall be open to the public. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve Resolution 2601.
So moved.
Second? I didn't hear who.
So moved.
No, Mayor Carr, seconded by Ms. McCluskey.
Okay,
Karen, roll call.
okay. Mr. Wolff?
Yes.
Mr. Malpere?
Yes.
Mr. Bezold?
Yes.
Mrs. Steckert?
Yes.
Mr. Sanciata?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mayor Carr?
Yes.
Mrs. McCluskey?
Yes.
And Mr. Garavaglia?
Yes. The next order of business is to adopt a resolution for professional services for 2026. That's Resolution 2602. Planning Board Resolution number 26-02, legal notice, Borough of Morris Plains, Morris County, New Jersey, Planning Board Professional Services. Whereas the Planning Board of the Borough of Morris Plains desires to retain the services of planning consultants, an engineer, and an attorney to perform professional services as required for the year 2026, and whereas the foregoing services are professional services as in NJSA 40A:11-2, Section 6, which are permitted to be contracted without public bidding as set forth in NJSA 40A:11-5, Section 1A, and as a non-fair and open contract pursuant to the provision of NJSA 19:44A-20.5. And whereas the board has determined that the value of each of the professional services will exceed $17,500. And whereas each of the professional consultants named below have completed and submitted a business equity disclosure certification, which certifies that each firm has not made any reportable contributions to a political or candidate committee represented by a board member in the previous 1 year, and that the contract will prohibit the below listed firms from making any reportable contribution through the term of the contract. And whereas the board has determined, after due consideration, that the following named individuals shall be appointed to fill the positions hereafter designated. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Planning Board of the Borough of Morris Plains as follows. 1. The board retains the services of the following to be compensated pursuant to the sums appropriated for the purpose in the duly adopted municipal budget for the year 2026. A. Planning consultants, Elizabeth Leheny and K. Keller of Phillips, Price, Brewer, Leheny, Hughes, LLC. B. Engineer, William Ryden of Anderson and Densler Associate, Incorporated. C. Board Attorney, Andrew M. Brewer, Esquire of Maraziti Falcon, LLP. 2. The business disclosure entity certification and the determination of value be placed on file with this resolution. And 3. The board secretary shall cause a copy of the resolution to be published in accordance with NJSA 40A:11-5, Section 1A(I). 4. This resolution shall take effect as prohibited by law. Can I get a motion to approve Resolution 2602?
So moved.
Second?
I got that correct, because it, Mr., that's right, the seconded, and who first?
Myself.
Okay. Mayor.
Okay, roll call, Karen.
Mr. Wolff?
Yes.
Mr. Malpere?
Yes.
Mr. Bezold?
Yes.
Ms. Steckert?
Yes.
Mr. Cianciata?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mayor Carr?
Yes.
Ms. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Garavaglia?
Yes. The next order of business is to adopt a resolution for the minor site plan committee appointments for 2026. That's resolution 26-03. Planning board resolution number 26-03, minor site plan committee. Be it resolved by the planning board of the Borough of Morris Plains in the county of Morris and state of New Jersey on this 19th day of January 2026. 1. The following individuals are hereby appointed to the minor site plan committee from the date hereof until December 31st of 2026. A. John Bezold. B. Marion Steckert. C. Ross Malpere. 2. This resolution shall take effect as prohibited, as provided by law. Whoops. As provided by law. Can I have a motion to adopt a resolution for minor site plan committee appointments for 2026?
So moved.
Second?
You know,
Mayor Carr.
am I hearing it's not in the, okay, good.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Wolff?
Yes.
Mr. Malpere?
Yes.
Mr. Bezold?
Yes.
Ms. Steckert?
Yes.
Mr. Cianciata?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mayor Carr?
Yes.
Ms. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Garavaglia?
Yes. Okay, the next order of business is to adopt a resolution for master plan review committee appointments for 2026. This is resolution 26-04. Planning board resolution number 26-04, master plan review committee. Be it resolved by the planning board of the Borough of Morris Plains in the county of Morris and state of New Jersey on this 19th day of January 2026. 1. The following individuals are hereby appointed to the master plan review committee from the date hereof until December 31st, 2026. A. Michael Garavaglia. B. Suzanne McCluskey. C. Andrew Wolff. 2. This resolution shall take effect as provided by law. Can I have a motion to approve resolution 26-04?
Motion?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Wolff?
Yes.
Mr. Malpere?
Yes.
Mr. Bezold?
Yes.
Ms. Steckert?
Yes.
Mr. Cianciata?
Yes.
Mr. Houston?
Yes.
Mayor Carr?
Yes.
Ms. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Garavaglia?
Yes. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the approval of meeting minutes from December 8th of 2025. Each of the board members received copy of these meeting minutes. Does anybody have any corrections or comments?
I've got three. On page 412. If I can find it. Third section where it starts, Mrs. Brandy stated it's a growing platform. That is not something they, I think should be that. The other two are on 423. Halfway down the page where it says Mr. Brewer asked, and then Mayor Cardin and Mr. Brewer, both times Mr. Brewer should be Mr. Wolff.
Thank you.
It would have been much more eloquent had it been Mr. Brewer, but it wasn't.
You were off the hook, Andy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The other one was.
I do have one as well on four, if you're finished, right, Andy?
Yeah, I'm finished.
412, 3/4 of the way down, Mr. Bezold asked if vehicles are ordered for Amazon. I don't know whether that was your question. Did you ask whether they were ordered for Amazon or not? Because Amazon is just one of your customers, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, if you
I'm
wanna,
sorry, I didn't hear, I didn't get where you said. What
page 412, about 3/4 of the way down,
Yeah,
it says Mr. Bezold asked if the vehicles are ordered through Amazon. He did not say that.
okay, so just remove that.
Yeah.
I have some corrections. Mr. Riley? Okay, on, let's see, 414, last sentence, where it says at the end of the sentence, and hail them away, I think that's whole. I have like two more, I think that's in here. Okay, on 419, the first line, it says the driveway closet. So, that's the two closest. All things spell check doesn't pick up. You got that, Karen?
No, I didn't get it.
First line, the driveway should say closest to the Buckley Way instead,
Okay,
okay, instead of closet. And then, I think this is a point of clarity, halfway through that paragraph, the line that starts approval, comma, they will engage with a fire chief. I think we're talking about the borough fire chief there, I'm not sure, I don't know if it's a or the fire chief. Just a point of clarity, I think we're talking about the borough chief.
Probably.
okay, the Borough Fire Chief,
Yeah, I think it's the versus a.
doesn't it say the Borough Fire Chief has requested?
The line
No,
above
line
that.
before.
Oh, okay. Oh, right, there's
See it? Okay, and then on 421, halfway down the page again, Mr. Ryden asked if some sight lights, I think it's SITE. And that is it for me.
Karen, I have one on 425. It's just a typo. Second line from the bottom, Miss Brandy said the leased. I think it's they leased this building.
Okay.
Should be they. Okay, anybody else? Okay, can I have a motion to approve these minutes with the changes stated?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Wolff,
Yes.
Mr. Malpere,
Yes.
Mr. Bezold,
Yes.
Mrs. Steckert,
Yes.
Mr. Simonciata,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yep.
Mayor Carr,
Yes.
Mrs. McCluskey,
Yes.
and Mr. Garavaglia.
Yes. All right, the next item on our agenda is comments from the public. This is specifically for matters that are not on tonight's agenda. We're asking that public comment should be limited to one comment of no more than 5 minutes per person, and this is only a request to provide opportunity for everyone. None? Okay. Next on our agenda are the committee reports. Minor site plan committee update, Mr. Bezold? None? Master plan review committee, Andrew, any updates?
None.
Correspondence and bills, Karen, are there any correspondences or
No,
bills?
no correspondence, but Mr. Wolff has some bills.
We have 3 P.O.s. First one is number 202-52353, dated the 24th of December, to Maraziti Falcon for McDonald's litigation, the amount of $7,004.88. The second, P.O. number 202-60073, dated the 13th of January, also to Maraziti Falcon, also for McDonald's litigation. The amount is $3,517.50. The final one, number 202-60074, 13th of January, also to Maraziti Falcon, for legal services in the amount of $1,225 even. I move that we accept these POs.
I'll second it.
Roll call, Karen?
Okay. Mr. Wolff,
Yes.
Mr. Malpere,
Yes.
Mr. Bezold,
Yes.
Mrs. Steckert,
Yes.
Mr. Santiago,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mayor Carr,
Yes.
Ms. McCluskey,
Yes.
and Mr. Garavaglia.
Yes. Okay, next item on the agenda is old business.
I was just gonna give a brief update, the McDonald litigation, as you know, the approval that was in McDonald was challenged. The trial, and I use that word in quotes, which is really oral argument, it's an argument with the attorney before the judge, occurred on Thursday. It went about 3 hours. Judge questioned other things on both sides, did not give an indication of, I don't think gave an indication which way he was leaning, which Judge Minkovich rarely does. And he said that he was reserving decision and he expects to issue his decision, the explanation within a few weeks. So early February would be a good guess on when we should have a response and the answer from the judge.
Anyone else, old business? Okay, any new business tonight? Okay. Okay, next on our agenda, applications. Our first application is PB-1-25, Rivian LLC, 329 Speedwell Avenue, Block 23, Lot 1.01. This is the continuation of the public hearing to include testimony from the applicant experts. Mr. Borough, welcome. Before you start, we had some items from last month, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to tackle those before we get into additional testimony. Some were addressed, I think, by you, but I'm not sure that all of them were. So,
You want me to just quickly give an overview of what was, I think you're referring to the resubmission that was made and some of the additional details.
there were questions asked during the testimony.
Sure.
And I feel that that's a better approach versus waiting to go through additional testimony and then trying to capture everything. Is that agreeable?
Absolutely, sir. I
Okay.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Just for the record, Joe Papero from Porzio, Bromberg and Newman on behalf of Rivian LLC. As mentioned, this is a continuation of the preliminary and final major site plan and variance application for 329 Speedwell Avenue, Block 23, Lot 1.01. We began our presentation of the application at your last meeting on December 8th, 2025. During that presentation, we've introduced testimony from a representative of Rivian, from the project architect, and from our project civil engineer. During the course of the proceedings, there was questions and feedback from the board consultants, as well as the public. Regarding the application, the applicant responded to those questions and comments due to the late hour, and in light of the feedback we received, decision was made to carry the application to this evening to give the applicant and its design team additional opportunities to address as many of those comments, questions, and recommendations as we could. A resubmission was made to the borough on January 8th, both hard copies and digitally to the board, the borough, the board's consultants. That resubmission included revised site plan set, which included a revised landscaping plan, the truck turning templates that Mr. Wolff requested, updated architectural colored rendering and elevations were provided. There were some questions and comments. I believe the mayor and others wanted a better visual of what this building would look like, aesthetics from the exterior. The architect provided some updated renderings that called out the color scheme and materials. Those were a part of the submission. Dynamic engineering supplied a performance standard compliance statement. That was a request of Mr. Ryden. Rivian provided a what I'll call an SOP, standard operating procedure for the company, supporting the testimony of Ms. Brandy regarding how employees of the service center would handle fluids, other materials that are typically used in a service center. That Rivian SOP was included in the submission. And the only other what I'll call more technical item was a list of quantities. Mr. Ryden specifically wanted to know quantities of certain items, and that document was provided to Mr. Ryden, the board's consultants. That was really more of what I'll call technical. It wasn't really dealing with the handling methods to support Ms. Brandy's testimony. It was more in response to Mr. Ryden's request. So that was, Chairman, that was the extent of the materials that went in on January 8th in response to the feedback and comments we received. I'm not sure if there was a specific items or additional information that you or the other board members were looking for that was not included in that resubmission. I'm happy to try to answer that for you now.
I do have one that I did see, and it involves the trash enclosure.
Excuse me, Mayor Parker, you go close.
It involves the trash
Yes.
enclosure, but we did talk about some sort of time stamp or whatever you want to call it for the locking mechanism, so nothing can be picked up before whatever time is determined. I didn't see any of that, and nothing was addressed anywhere.
Sure, the detail in the engineering plans, and Mr. Brewer will go into more testimony on that, does include, we switched from the chain link enclosure to the full masonry block enclosure with board-on-board fencing. The testimony and the confirmation at the last hearing is that Rivian would agree as a stipulation of any approval to restrict those hours of refuse pickup. And again, I will defer to Mr. Brewer on this. Typically, we would agree to condition the resolution that would run with the approval, restricting it as was requested by the mayor and others to limit that pickup. I'm not sure there's any other.
What was that time?
We can get, yeah, I believe we said, I thought it was during business hours, but let me double check. I don't want to misquote. There was, I know there was deliveries were restricted to a certain time, I believe. Let me just see what we talked about the refuse handling. Yeah, that as well. I have my notes say limit the refuse and recycling pickups to business hours, just so it wouldn't have an impact on us.
So I think that those ought to, we ought to assign numbers to those.
Yeah, I think the number should be assigned and maybe a step 2, in case that's not adhered to. If you have problems other places in town where, yeah, you can tell them 7:30, 8 o'clock, but, you know, they're there 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, whatever, right? So there has to be some sort of other mechanism or something else in play or agreed upon if there's a continued issue there.
Sure.
I understand ones, but whatever, it's ongoing problem, so.
Absolutely. And then I could work with Mr. Brewer if this application was approved on a condition that would,
I can
encompass.
get from Hawking, but the number, the time, I can't work on that. That's something the board's gonna have to be happy with.
Sure.
I don't know what the ordinance says, but it has to be at least what the ordinance, do you know what the ordinance says off the top of your head? Bill?
sorry.
I would say it would have to be adhered to at least what the ordinance says.
On the times for pickup? Sure.
Business hours would be fine, I would suppose.
I can work with you on this.
Chairman, was there anything other than the refuse pickup that you can recall? I think,
So I looked back at the notes and I marked up a few things,
sure.
but maybe this will be covered through resolution. So, board member had asked about the EV chargers and what would stop someone from using them. Ms. Brandy talked about, she thought that there was an ability to maybe lock them out, but we weren't sure. So was there a follow-up to that? Is that part of what can be put into the resolution later?
Sure, yeah, and we can certainly get, some kind of a clarification as to what operationally can be done. I think the testimony was that, practically speaking, they're just not gonna be available between having customer vehicles in those chargers as well as any loaner vehicles and the like. It's just not gonna, according to Ms. Brand's testimony, not gonna be an opportunity for the general public to pull in there and use them, but as a safeguard, if we can, I could speak about something mechanically that could be done, or, technologically to shut them off. And let me do that while Mr. Fruit's testifying, if you allow.
All right, sure. There were some things about hazardous waste.
Yes.
And I know you had provided some information. I would ask Mr. Ryden at a point if you were satisfied with that.
Well, I'll give you my answers. I'd like the witness to put those reports on the record and testify as to what he provided, and I'll give you my comments.
There were
At
also
that
some
time.
things, okay, sorry, go ahead, finish.
No, that's when I'll give you my feedback.
Okay,
Generally, I'm satisfied. I do have some questions, so.
Okay,
I'll
yeah,
get
there
there.
were water requirements, electrical requirements as well. So I don't know if all of those were addressed. So again, through testimony,
Sure.
additional testimony.
I think, Mr. Fruit, as part of his engineering, can speak to utilities, and I think that was some of the items that you're referring to.
Okay. Anybody else have anything off the top of mind before?
I just wanna go through, I highlighted a couple of things. Did you say we're gonna go through lighting again? Is that part of it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, Mr. Fruit's revised site plan set includes supplemental and enhanced landscaping on the East Hanover Avenue
Okay.
side, and I know there were some lighting questions. Mr. Fruit can speak to those again.
What about bollards? Because there was a question about bollards too. Is that on your, did that get revised?
We'll have to double check that.
Okay.
I'm looking at Mr. Fruit. He'll let me know if that's on his revised plan.
Okay. I think Mr. Freud had also talked about, working with the professionals on we had questions about, cut throughs. I mean, in the notes, it says that he was gonna work with some of the professionals on other solutions. I'm not sure if you're covering that at all.
I know there's gonna be testimony on
Okay.
the revised parking configuration. If you'll notice in those plans, the configuration the orientation of the spaces have all been changed. And I believe Mr. Fruit has some testimony.
Okay,
Hopefully that'll address some of those issues, including the cut through.
perfect. That's it for me.
I think there's one other, the fire hydrant on Speedwell. I think there's a takeaway to go back and talk to the fire department.
Correct.
As well, did you do that?
I personally did, but I'll defer to Dynamic to see if they reached out.
Anyone else?
I do have a comment. It's with regard to these new plans.
Yes.
sheet number 1, which is the cover sheet, and sheet number 2, which is the aerial map. They list Academy Road on there, and it should be Canfield.
That's usually a direct reference from the tax map, but I don't disagree with you.
Where?
Well, why don't we let
Yeah.
when Mr. Cruz is back up?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else on the board? Okay, Mr.
Great.
Brewer, you can
Thank you
actually
so
start now.
I'll be very brief, just in an overview. We've talked about a lot already before I recall Mr. Frood. One of the other things I just wanted to note for the record was that we did receive in response to that resubmission an updated report from Mr. Maltz dated January 15th, 2026. And we are prepared this evening to respond to any remaining items that are in the traffic consultant's report. As I noted, the revised site plan set now has 3 separate turning templates for each of the vehicles. There's a refuse turning template, there is a fire truck turning template, there's actually 4. There's a delivery truck turning template, and finally the car carrier, to show that all of those different vehicles can maneuver throughout the site and using the driveways as designed. So that's something that Mr. Fruit will also provide some testimony on. There were some elimination of variances throughout the course of this proceeding, signage and the like. So again, I'll let Mr. Fruit speak to those items, but I just wanted to note for the record. And then to respond to Mr. Ryden's statement earlier, I can certainly, if there's anything additional that's needed for me to put these on the record, these additional items that are part of the resubmission, the Rivian standard operating procedure document regarding waste and material management is not dated, so there's really no other way to reference it, other than, it's titled Rivian, 329 Speedwell Avenue, Morris Plains, New Jersey, Waste and Hazardous Material Management. The performance standard compliance statement from Dynamic Engineering is dated January 2026. That was part of the resubmission. And the colored rendering packet architectural materials were prepared by Red Stark, the project architect. And I don't believe there's a date on here, but if there is, I will find that before we conclude this evening. Oh, there is.
I did see a date on that.
December, you're correct, Mayor. December 19th, 2025. Okay. All right. So, Chairman, what I'd like to do is just pick up the presentation where we left off and recall Mr. Frood to go into more detail on the revisions that were made to the project, to the plans, also to hit on the additional materials that were resubmitted, and to answer the questions that have been presented so far this evening. Mr. Frood, you're still under oath. He was previously accepted and qualified at the December 8th, 2025 hearing. Mr. Frood, your licenses are still in good standing?
They are, yes.
For exhibits, we left off at the last hearing. If you're going to present anything that wasn't submitted, we would start with A6. But if you're going with things that have been already part of that January 8th submission, we don't need to remark those. So it looks like you have a rendered site plan. So let's mark that A6 with today's date.
So, thank you. This is A6. This is a color rendered site plan with today's date, January 19, 2026. It is, as with the previous color rendering, it is a color rendered version of the site plan. The orientation is the same. North is at the top of the page. It specifically references the revised site plans from January 7th of 2026. In that revision, we did a point-by-point response letter to the various review letters that we received. That's outlined in our letter dated January 8th. I won't go through all of the comments in that letter, but I would like to highlight some of the changes that were made here. And maybe first point of fact, going through the pages in order. The cover and the aerial map I don't disagree with your correction. Typically, those come
I
from
think
the
it's
tax
the
map.
cover, I think it's the aerial, just the
So
aerial
the
map,
page 2,000.
yeah.
Yeah, typically that comes from the tax map, so you might wanna, Take a
The
look at it.
cover is good.
Yeah.
The aerial map is
Okay.
not.
but that will get corrected.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I mean, not even tonight, when you do your final.
Certainly. So, if I can, so again, this is the same orientation. So you see the building, here in the tan color, Speedwell Avenue on the left side of the page, and East Hanover Avenue, at the bottom of the page. As you recall, with the plans that we discussed the last hearing, we had already agreed to close, the westernmost driveway on East Hanover Avenue. In my opinion, that, does a lot to limit, the cut-through, that was just brought up, and we talked about a little bit in December. Typically, a cut-through, in our experience, it's a matter of convenience. So the more cut-through you're gonna get is when it's a more convenient movement. So number one, that was an easy shot across the front of the building and out to Speedwell. Now, to cut through, you've gotta make that decision much sooner, come around, make several turns across the front of across the building and out to Speedwell. So it's a much less convenient move. So we don't anticipate that it would be common or typical in this situation. Certainly not nearly as much as, say, something that was on the corner. What did we do with these changes? First and foremost, we heard the board and the neighbors with regard to East Hanover Avenue frontage, and we modified the buffer and the landscape spacing, setback of parking to be compliant at 10 feet from East Hanover Avenue, pushing the existing parking, which is non-compliant today, pushing that back to be at least 10 feet. So it's a little over 10 feet on the west side. As you go east, it gets to be a little bit further just because of the orientation. The way we did that, we eliminated one-way circulation that went through the site and parking and made this all 90-degree parking. That does a couple of things. One, it provides two-way access throughout the aisles, makes it a little bit easier to circulate for customers when they're coming in and out of spaces. Number two, it actually makes the parking a little bit more efficient. So the net result of that change is, again, the driveway was already closed, we reoriented this 90 degrees. The net result is about the same parking. We went from 163 to 164 total spaces, yet we reduced the impervious coverage slightly further. So if you recall, with our first revision, we did the same treatment over on Speedwell. We got rid of some parking, we slid that back, increased the buffer, significantly increased the landscaping there. We've now done that on East Hanover. In total, this project has over 400 various plant materials being installed, 19 trees, 230 shrubs, a number of perennials and grasses as well. I had it in here. And a lot of that, again, is focused along the frontage of East Hanover, where we're adding, there's existing cadence of street trees there. We're adding one where the driveway used to be to keep that cadence of street trees along the frontage. And we're adding a lower ornamental tree at the corner there to provide some aesthetics. And in amongst all those trees, instead of lawn, we're adding landscaping. It'll be a combination of evergreen and deciduous shrubs, as well as the grasses and perennials throughout that. There's a nice cadence in between each tree to really supplement the landscaping there. Cuts down on any headlight screening from cars that are parked facing the street. Also just provides general screening to fill in below the limbs and branches of the street trees that are there today. We also took a look at the inventory on the Buckley Way. There were a couple spots, one at the south end, one at the northern corner, where that landscaping had either maybe died over the years or had fallen in disrepair. So we've supplemented that with some arborvitae in this area, as well as, again, in the northeast corner, so that you now have a full screen row of evergreens throughout that area. All of the EV spaces are in the same location. They're just now in that center row of parking. So we have a center row of parking that is essentially pulled through. You can see white striped areas between every other EV space. That's where the equipment is housed. There's a question about bollards. Yes, we will have bollards, 4 bollards around the EV, all of the EV equipment to protect it, but cars can then pull through in either direction, as well as several spaces that are EV ready against the building. It was on the last set of plans, but there was a question about utilities. Again, there is a proposed transformer on the east side of the building where the electric comes in off the Buckley Way. That's to handle some increased electric service. The exact design of that, the exact design of the electric service will come as we get our electrical engineer on board through design development of the building plans and get the full load information to submit to the utility company. Similarly, with water service, we're upgrading the water service to make sure that we have the adequate fire prevention in the building. I talked about that at the last hearing. Again, that will be designed by the mechanical plumbing engineer as well as the fire sprinkler engineer at the time of building design preparation for the building department. Other notable changes, the trash enclosure has not been relocated. It's still in this location off the northwest corner of the building, but it has been replaced, or the spec of it has been changed to a brick veneer with a capstone, consistent with what is being installed throughout the borough. We did agree to have the locking mechanisms there. There was, the mayor asked about the timing there. Just to refresh the board, the testimony at the last hearing, the hours of operation, Monday to Friday, 7 to 7, and Saturday from 7 to 4, with no ops on Sunday. So that would be the timing for the locking mechanisms on the trash enclosure. The plans note the agreement to repair, or replace, I should say, sidewalk and curb along the frontages as needed, as well as ADA ramps. And then, one more thing on the chargers, we did confirm with the Rivian as far as method to prevent public from coming in and pulling up. You heard the testimony at the last hearing from Ms. Brandy. Typically, those will be used by Rivian vehicles in the overnight. However, it will require either a swipe card or code to be punched in to access it. So if there is a space that's not occupied by a Rivian vehicle overnight, you won't be able to get to the service from that charging post. Finally, I want to go through the signage changes that we made.
Just one point, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Also that, I know you can look online or whatever, it's not advertised anywhere either that there are charges here. Is that correct?
It's probably on the Rivian website, but I don't know of anything beyond that, I'm not sure. The final comment I want to make with regard to the revisions has to do with the signage that's proposed. If you recall at the last hearing, we have 2 freestanding signs, one in each driveway. We have reduced the size and dimensions of those signs to be compliant with regard to width, height, etc., and underclearance. So now the only variance is that we have 2 instead of 1. Again, we have really 3 frontages, we have 2 driveways, and I'll get into planning testimony in a bit, but I think it's appropriate to have those 2 signs. They are backlit, internally illuminated, those signs, they're a metal panel, or the ordinance request wood. Keep in mind, these are a predominantly black panel, and it will be the Rivian name and logo that is backlit through the panel. So it's not the entire panel that'll be lit up, it'll just be the Rivian lettering and logo that'll be illuminated. So it'll probably, in my opinion, probably have less, be less noticeable than, say, a sign with a uplight on it or something that was illuminating the whole sign. So I think it'll be very aesthetically pleasing. We've also updated the plans to identify all of the building signs. We had a conversation at the last hearing, we had a conversation with your planner about the signs. All of the informational signs that are in the building are now inventoried on the plans and documented in our sign table. Those include things like a guest lounge ID, a key drop ID sign, a mailbox, a no tailgating sign, video surveillance identification, and then a small entry door graphic. All of those are less than 2 square feet, but they are documented now on the plans so that they can be reviewed, and I'll get into a little bit more detail when I go through the variance discussion on those. But they are all now documented on the plans. We did also submit the vehicle circulation plans. I don't necessarily need to go into detail. If Mr. Maltz has questions about them, I can certainly go through them. I think Mr. Maltz, the only point I want to make is on the vehicle deliveries, we anticipate them coming from Speedwell and exiting East Hanover. You talked about left turns, it's actually a right turnout on East Hanover. The circulation is reversed from what you noted in your
What
letter.
you should show the, because you've got to go reverse, is what you're saying. You can't make the left in.
We're not, I think you may have read the plan backwards. So the plan is the vehicle comes in, it's a left in off Speedwell, which is a permitted movement, and a right turnout on East Hanover.
Right in Speedwell. Left in.
Left in off Speedwell.
Left in Speedwell.
And for what vehicle was that that's gonna come,
That's the vehicle delivery,
the carrier?
the car carrier, yeah, correct.
And can you tell me how many cars would be on it at one time? If it was still,
We talked about that the last time, I just wanna,
I don't know if we did,
The record says 5.
I thought it was 5, yeah.
and we don't have a height on
Typical height, I think, is 12 to 13. I know the bridge is 13.7 one direction, 13.8 the other direction. And it's designed to permit trucks underneath, so it would make it through there.
it? Do you know how often those deliveries will come?
I know Ms. Brandy testified to some of that at the last hearing, so I just want to make sure. I'm looking at about 6 a week, I believe was the discussion last time. About 30 trucks a week, 5 on a truck, that's about 6 a week. If it's a full, might be a 7th delivery a week, so 1 a day or so.
And they're gonna come right through our thing?
They're gonna come to the site. There's no way to come to the site without them.
Well, they can come from Hanover, they can come from Hanover and make the right in there too.
And what?
Come from Hanover and make the right in there too. If they're coming in. from-
Right, but then they'd be empty coming out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They'd have to come back this way, they'd be empty. That make any sense or not?
Yeah, no, one way or the other, it's coming through, coming or going.
I think to your point, John, right, there's only right turns coming out, right? On the Hanover, there's a right turn and there's a right turn coming out, so they do have to come through town is the point I think you're making, correct?
Well, I wanted to discuss the whole rear entrance on Buckley too, cause is this a good time or not a good time, or?
Check with.
I don't have much, we can go whatever the board prefers, so if that's.
Well, I think Harold, Mr. Maltz is gonna talk a little bit about that, so we
That's
can.
why I don't want to.
Yeah.
I think, I would like to, if you have the traffic flow plans, do you have those today?
I do, yeah.
I think we would like to see those.
Yeah.
No, I would like him to show for the public, so that we can all see.
So this is colored from the plan that was submitted. We'll mark it
A7.
A7.
And Rob, which one is that? Which vehicle?
This is the car carrier, vehicle circulation car carrier. The exhibit has today's date of 1/19/2026, but it is as from the plan set that was submitted on, prepared on January 7th, 2026. So the circulation pattern that's shown here would be a left in from Speedwell, circulating through the site, and it can drop off anywhere across the front of the building, and then a right turnout on East Hanover Avenue.
And then back on Speedwell.
Straight up Hanover Avenue.
Or left on,
What?
or left on Speedway, he can go anywhere he wants to
Yeah.
go.
What do you mean?
No, you can, if you come to the traffic light, you make a left on Speedwell, you can go straight up Hanover.
Yeah,
and
but
make a
chances
right.
are he's gonna come back the way he came.
We don't care.
Well, I think the point Mr. Bezold is making is that he's coming from the highway. The quickest way to get back to the highway is go back through town.
That's my point, that we're gonna have this truck come through twice a day, per se. Right. I don't know, maybe Harold's got some input.
Want me to, go ahead and continue to testify, or do you want me
Yeah,
to
I don't,
address?
however this is gonna go, I don't wanna interrupt the flow, I mean,
Well, I can raise my questions, and I'm sure you're gonna respond to them, dealing with the access on Hanover and the Buckley Way. I guess that's the area we're talking about.
yeah, I don't know why that's not being entertained to have an egress on Buckley.
The county, the one that, in their review, indicated that they would like, think of it as several alternatives, step by step, to close both drives on Hanover and make a connection to come out Buckley. With Buckley stop sign controlled, you have a left and right turn lane there, and you have a cross-hatched,
Correct.
do not block the intersection, and they would allow the lefts out there. As an alternative, if the board preferred not to do that, they would want the westerly drive on Hanover, existing westerly drive closed, and keep the easterly one, which is only 70 feet west of Buckley Way, so it's furthest you can be from the signal at Speedwell. But in doing that, they wanted no left turns in or out, allowing only right turns in and out. And I noted at the last meeting in my original report that my concern was by no left turns being allowed out at Speedwell, no left turns allowed out at Hanover, you have no ability from the site to come directly out to be able to proceed onto Hanover eastbound. That creates a situation in which if everybody makes a right out, they're gonna wander onto other potential streets or neighborhood streets or roadways that they might not ordinarily be on, if there was a direct access. What I had in my current report and addressed under additional comments, I did note it's in the same area that I did like the change they made, 45-degree parking, which is in that southeast corner of the site near Buckley, and going to the 90-degree, the two-way flow. It improves circulation around the site, and did like that. What I did want to see, and I pointed out in my report, is in order, being that the county was amenable to using Buckley, and they talked about that was their first preference, but on the other hand, we do have that existing easterly drive on Hanover, right in, right out. If you want to gain the left out with the least impact on Buckley, suggested making a one-way connection from the site, and now you do have two-way flow through that area. You've got very good flow, circulation in that area. Instead of a two-way connection, just have a one-way out.
On Buckley.
On Buckley.
Agreed.
People make a right turn, there's a separate left turn that's right there.
Correct.
And stop sign controlled, and that's how you make the left out, and they would sign it appropriately. Mr. Freed, in his opening statement, said that there's a 4-foot height differential in that area. What I did is I looked at the revised plans, the grading plan, and I didn't draw a cross-section in the area, but just looking at the contours that they show, the existing contours and the spot elevations on Buckley, where the potential would be to come out with the one-way connection, it looked like it was not a 4-foot difference, but a 2-foot difference. So that would make the grade more amenable. However, it's up to the site engineer to provide some cross-section in that area. There would be minimal impact, forgetting about the grade for now, there would be minimal impact along parking along on Buckley Way, because first of all, stop sign controlled, you can't park within 50 feet of a stop sign. You have a left and right turn lane there, you can't park adjacent to those turn lanes. So the area where this drive, one-way drive would occur, will be just beyond that. And that's approximately, if you took the two-way drive, two-way circulation aisles that they created, and you go in between those to come out on Buckley, you're within about 25, 30 feet of where the left turn lanes are, some 40 feet, something like that. So there's minimal impact any parking curbside along the Buckley Way. What has to be shown is for the site engineer to prepare a cross-section, just one cross-section in that area, to see if that one-way connection is doable grade-wise between the parking lot, with the area I've identified, and getting down to the curb line area, which would be opened up on Buckley. So that's what I'm looking to see, to identify.
I think we talked about that, we cannot eliminate even one parking spot on the Buckley Way.
You have that business really that relies on parking there for the employees, and then you have the overflow also for the Highlands, that's right there. And then I think some people also park there for the Arbor Terrace as well.
Yeah.
And they can
So
park, they can
one
park-
spot, 2 spots out of there, I mean, that's a big deal.
they can park that close to Hanover.
You have to go out
25
there and see
feet.
the sign, 50
Yeah.
feet or whatever it is.
The other thing is, if this were, if Acme went out, and let's say Aldi came in, or whoever, we wouldn't be talking about this. Acme's tractor trailers came in and out of there for 30, 40 years.
And 2
Right?
driveways with people making lefts. And 2
Yeah.
driveways.
And 2 right, making left turns. This is once or twice a day. They can figure it out,
Well, if I could interject something.
Yeah.
Also within my report related to this area, I requested 2 things. One is, I mentioned it to Mr. Paraguay, the traffic engineer, for the applicant, is to identify how much the county was concerned about the left-south safety, whatever. The proposed application is not a supermarket. Supermarket generated,
Yeah.
supermarket generated a lot of traffic, you would have had a lot of lefts out. This proposed site generates a lot less traffic than the Acme did. Consequently, when you take off, rights in, rights out, and all the other directions, how much, I asked their traffic engineer, identify realistically, based on the projections for this site, how much left turn traffic are we really talking about? In a peak hour, are we talking about 20 cars or 15 cars? If it's a nominal number, then they have an argument to go back to the county and say, why not allow the left out of the easterly drive, which is the furthest?
Right.
It's 220 feet from the westerly drive, you're only 70 feet from the Buckley Way. So, and I think he even had that in his review report, the response report, responding to me, indicating about going back and talk to the county. But they should quantify that number so you know that we're not in a vacuum. We got a low number of generation, peak hour generation for the site, and you're gonna have less during the rest of the day.
Right.
And activity is not that great on the roads. The biggest impact on Speedwell and Hanover is in the rush hour period. I mean, everybody knows it gets backed up.
Yeah.
But if we're not talking about a lot of traffic, they have an argument that they can present to the county. And try and say, and that would then eliminate the connection to the Buckley Way for a one-way.
And that block the box is something that's relatively new, and the business owner asked for that block the box there. The county didn't suggest that ever, or put that in there. The business owner did, so she can get her deliveries out of there and make that left turn to the employees. So, I mean, that's a relatively new block to box in, I'll say 2 years, maybe, give or take, whatever the case is.
It does make you wonder, could you do a conditional left? Could you say left turns only between these hours during the day? So it's not during rush hour, it's when there's not as much traffic flow, and when the county buys something like that.
Rush hour is probably better, because the traffic stopped there.
It's stopped, yeah. I mean, we're just not talking a huge volume here.
Right, and I think, that request is sometimes difficult because it becomes an enforcement issue, and that just puts the burden back on the borough. I think to what Mr. Maltz is saying is probably the direction that we would like to go, honestly, which is to continue the conversation with the county, which We haven't gotten feedback from them other than their letter to pursue that, but I agree with Mr. Maltz that pursuing the ability to make the left is probably the best approach. I did ask our traffic engineer to look at the numbers. This is a much lower generator than Acme or Aldi or Sprouts or whoever might come in and reoccupy. When you break down the traffic for Rivian into potential left turns out of there, you're talking about 13 to 15 trips total. Or I should say in an hour. So in an hour.
Just so everybody understands, and I say this if I work with a developer in front of a board, if I take, for example, his 18, as he said, 18, what's 18 into 60 minutes? It's about one car on average every 3 minutes. That's less time than the cycle of the light at the corner. That's about how often, if it was all backed up on Hanover, and you're gonna say, how long is it gonna take for somebody to make a left out? From my experience, you have a signal nearby, that's gonna cycle, allow the queue to start moving, that's gonna open up an opportunity within that. So if it's a 90-second light, that means it's about a minute and a half. Meanwhile, you're only gonna generate, from what he's saying, about one car every 3 minutes. So that gives you a sense of the activity. That's why I'm saying it behooves them to really go to the county and push for this, you know.
And again,
And that would
all up and
eliminate
down
the
that corridor, you
connection
got,
to
the
the
artist makes the left out of there.
Oh, the shop rights.
No
Yeah.
signals, all crossover lanes out.
And what we try to do with this exhibit is show potentially the worst case, which is if we didn't have it left out, that it could be done. Certainly if we made it left out on East Hanover, it's an easier movement, right, Mr. Maltz? The turning radius for a left turn is wider than a right turn, so if you can make the right turn, that truck can make the left turn. So we want to show sort of the worst case if we didn't have it, but if we have the left turns, we're very comfortable, we're even more comfortable with the ability to get that vehicle in and out of here. I did go back and look after Mr. Maltz's letter. The grade differential there, he's right, it's not 4 feet, it might be somewhere between 2 and 3. It's an impediment to grading. Can it be done? I'd have to look a little bit closer with the section, like he said, but that split right-left turn lane goes back about 40 feet, so that precludes the first driveway, which means that it's at the second driveway closest to the building, where we would want to make that opening into the Buckley Way, and that is where there's on-street parking. So then you would be eliminating several on-street parking spaces. Not to mention that turning radius there onto the Buckley Way is gonna be a little bit tighter. We have more control on site with the turning radius of a truck or vehicle, so I prefer to keep our trucks certainly on site than to push them
Correct me if I'm
on
wrong, I
site.
think if you go back that far, I think that there's parking on the opposite side, or there's an entrance way to that other building there as well.
Yeah, it's like their parking lot.
Yeah, something.
Once you look at the radius, you might have to look at more parking restrictions, which I don't think is desirable here to do that on Buckley Way. So the fact that we can do it with the right turnout shows that it can be done. We will approach the county with the left turns on that premise that it is a significantly reduced traffic generator than what's there today. We're eliminating the one access. And they did leave the option to have the one access off of East Hanover. So I think we're very close to what the county wants. It's really just about that left turn at this point.
Can I ask you a question? It may be from the witness, but based on my request to have that left turn line identified for the site, did Mr. Paraguay, if he prepared an analysis for that?
Of the trips?
No, for the left turn out. If it was allowed, coming out, how much left turn traffic are we talking about?
Well, that's what we said, it was be about 13 an hour.
Is Mr. Paraguay gonna testify to it?
If that's the board's and your preference.
He's here, if you'd like him to do that.
Yeah, I would like him to put it on the record, because that's gonna be key to approaching the county.
Right.
Because if it's a small number, which I believe it is, it makes a very good argument to allow it. Especially since historically Acme, to give you an idea, the Acme in the evening peak hour, based on projections, there's nothing there now, projected at 315 trips in and out of the site. This site has about, depending which table you use, between 72 and 80.
and there were no restrictions. I mean, that was sort of
That's what I'm
a
saying.
free-for-all there. You could go out either the east or the west exit off of East Hanover Avenue and go whatever way you wanted. Or not, if the traffic didn't allow you to. So this is a great improvement, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's a very forceful argument that can be made with the county. You know, and also with the idea that the board supports looking into it.
Yeah.
Based on past history.
Mr. Prude, I'm sorry, Mr. Moulton, do you have anything further?
No, we'll wait and see what.
We'll call Mr. Paraguay up next.
I think you get the sense of where we're going.
Sure. Anyone else for?
Can I just say one other thing though? Everything's based on today, right? All your ins and out and how many cars are, the amount of volume. I mean, Rivian's gonna wanna grow. I think that's what their business wants to do. So who's to say in 3 or 4 years from now, that's not a huge facility and we got a lot of cars coming in and out. Shouldn't we be concerned about the future too?
I think, and if Mr. Paraguay's coming up, he'll testify, but the traffic numbers that he's quoting are for a fully occupied facility. I know that there was some discussion at the last hearing from Ms. Brandy about some of the kind of opening the doors, and that gets into the parking conversation, number of parking stalls that would be used when they open the doors. But when Mr. Paraguay does his traffic analysis, he's looking at full build out.
Well, yeah, Mr. Ryden, let's go back to the professionals. Mr. Ryden, you have any questions for this witness?
I do.
Okay.
Are you done with your testimony?
That's the introduction of the civil changes, yes. I'll get to the planning, I think, when we're.
Okay, so, the last hearing I asked about the, if it was possible for some of the site lighting to be dimmed overnight, for security, just down to security levels, and you said you would come back with an answer on that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to, address that in our response. But I think what I testified at the last hearing was, and we did look at the lighting. We have really looked at the minimum, the half-foot candle requirements that the borough requires throughout the site. So to dim it beyond that, it would go against safety protocol.
Well, I'm talking about after business hours, overnight.
Correct,
You said you
yes.
wanted to leave the full
We're
site
gonna
lighting on.
we're gonna turn the signs off. The site
I'm
lighting,
talking about the sign, I'm talking about the site lighting. You said
the
you
site
were-
lighting will stay at safety protocol throughout the night,
What does that mean, safety protocol?
as designed.
So it's full lighting on the
That's
site?
correct, yes.
Even though there's no traffic through the site? Or no customers, nobody moving through the
That-
site?
That was how we, yes, correct.
And the question was, and you still haven't answered it, can you reduce it for overnight? For the, the neighbors were discussing lighting intrusion into their homes. Why do you need the full site light all night long when the business is not in operation?
So, wait, Mr. Prude, your testimony at the last hearing, this lighting design complies with the code's lighting levels, correct?
We have some waivers for light levels.
That's in the,
Sometimes when
that's
we're,
at the speed well.
that has to do
Corner.
with, correct, that has to do with
That's not near the East Hanover.
the property
residence.
line here. That also has to do with the fact that we have less lighting, less than half a foot candle in called the southwest corner along East Hanover. But the illumination levels are consistent with the ordinance, so. again,
We're not talking if the ordinance wants the site lighted when it's in use. When there's customers, when there's vehicles moving through it, when there's pedestrians on the site. If there's no activity on the site, there's no requirement for it to be lit at all. As many businesses do, they shut their lights completely off overnight. Maybe a few security, that's what I'm asking you. Why do you need full level of lighting when the site's not in use?
I guess we're looking at about a half-foot candle, average illumination, right? So, which is.
For nobody there,
I'm sorry?
for nobody there.
Which is not a high level of illumination. And we have, for safety and security, for surveillance cameras to work, you need some level of illumination there. So typically, a facility like this would leave the lights on overnight.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask the board to consider that when they deliberate the conditions.
I'm certainly not testifying. I believe that neighbor was satisfied with the kind of lighting it was. It was down drop lighting instead of the, spread out, whatever you wanna call it. I don't
That's
know the
correct.
term.
We're replacing the sort of a Cobra light with the downward focused LED light. We're also supplementing the vegetative cover on all 3 street frontages to significantly screen and shield that lighting from spilling over the property lines.
Did he talk to you at the end or during the meeting? Do you remember?
I mean, I can't testify on his behalf, but my impression was that, and if he was here, he could speak, but I did not get the impression that there were any concerns remaining. I think that what we're doing are positive impacts relative to his view. Most specifically, the conversation revolved around the ID sign in the building, which we're not gonna eliminate.
At all?
Correct.
It's never gonna be illuminated.
On the building.
Okay.
On East Hanover, on Speedwell it will be.
Sorry, say that again?
The sign on Speedwell will be eliminated, the one on East Hanover, because it faces a residential use, will not be eliminated.
At all, not
Correct.
even their business hours?
Correct.
Okay, the other thing from the prior meeting was I asked for the rendering of the building colors, color schemes, and that was submitted. I'm satisfied that we have a specific building look, and I just wanted to, for the record, and any approval, that be part of the approval, that that's the building and the color schemes they're gonna use. If the board is satisfied with it, I think it looks fine.
I think it's crisp, it's clear,
It's
it looks
nice,
modern,
but
it's very nice.
this is what we want, this is what would be approving if it's approved. That's stipulated. Okay, I'd like to go through, some items in your, January 8th response to the various comments we had. Excuse me. So starting with item 12 in the report, I had asked about performance standards, and you submitted, I believe, Dynamic submitted, not you specifically submitted a performance standard compliance statement. And the only question I have in there is under air pollution. It talks about no substance shall be emitted into the atmosphere in quantities which are injurious to humans, et cetera. And the response is, no substances are proposed to be emitted into the atmosphere in quantities which are injurious to humans. Now, can you elaborate on that? What does that mean? You have none of those particular materials, or that there are, but they're below some certain level? You gotta quantify that a little bit.
Well, the New Jersey Air Pollution Control Act cited NJC 727, 727A, and 727B have specific requirements for air pollution. Anything that's happening on this site will not rise to the level of exceeding those standards.
Based on what? What are the numbers? What are the standards?
I don't have them.
Okay, so how do you compare them if you don't have the numbers? I need to know what you're doing versus the numbers, so you can follow up with that for us, please.
We can provide more detail.
That's the only comment I have on the performance standard. Next item is soil disturbance. I asked you about that last time, and you said you would come back with more detail as to the amount of soil either imported or removed from the site, and the quantities of that. The reason being that this site plan is incorporating the soil disturbance permit, if you will. It's not a separate permit, but the issues that would go under soil disturbance need to be addressed here. And the main ones are how much soil is either coming in going off, and what that material is if it's coming in.
So again,
do you have a breakdown?
So we can provide it as part of resolution, a number, but I thought there were numbers provided. So the entire parking lot is gonna be a mill and overlay. The only thing that's gonna happen is gonna remove pavement in this shaded area here and replace that with topsoil and soil. So we're talking about, you know,
So the threshold is, for any of these discussions, is really 200 yards, so if you're.
we're below 200 yards
Okay,
of
can you,
import or
okay, I'm
export.
gonna ask you to just give me a statement to that effect, some quantify. Okay.
We'll quantify, it'll be less than 200 yards.
Okay, good,
minor.
that resolves those issues once you provide that. The next item has to do with the trash enclosure. We asked that it be brought up to conformance with the board standards for a brick enclosure. Now, on your site plan, it says brick veneer, but on the detail, there's no brick veneer shown, so they have to be, that has to be just,
We will revise the detail.
to conform with with the note version of the detail. Okay, just bear with me a second here. Okay, the other comment was, the fire department asked for a hydrant on Speedwell and a hydrant on Hanover.
Correct.
And your plan shows only one hydrant on Hanover, and you stated here that you didn't wanna put the one on Speedwell because you would have to deal with the DOT for a road opening.
And we did not, given the setback of the building, we didn't know if that provided significant value to add that. I think that we're waiting for feedback from the fire official on this resubmission.
Okay, I don't know
Ultimately,
that,
we'll satisfy his request.
okay, I don't know that he's got this resubmission or not, but we definitely need to get additional feedback from the fire department as to whether, I mean, I don't have an opinion one way or the other, that's for him to decide. But I just-
Ultimately, we'll satisfy his request.
Okay, and then, the last thing I have, I believe, is this Rivian, Mr. Papara said,
Yes.
the undated Rivian,
Yes.
waste and hazardous materials management. Again, the only thing that it comes down to, I'm satisfied they seem to have a nice, safety program and on-site, equipment, et cetera. But under the management overview, it talks about Rivian expects to generate a very small quantity of hazardous materials, below some state definition of a very small generator. Is there a way to elaborate on that a little bit? What is very small, what's a small quantity?
Well,
You know, I don't know what a small quantity is. Is that 100 gallons or is it 1 gallon?
It
Mr.
was a
Ryden, we
multiple
provided
page
you with,
list of
we
quantities.
provided you with that.
I didn't get that list. Sorry, I didn't get that list.
Okay, well, I emailed it to you, but I can give it to you again. It gives you all of the quantities of all of the different materials.
Okay.
I can supply
All
that.
right, if you can get that to me, I'll take a look at that.
Yes.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Ms. Leheny?
I just have a couple of clarifying questions. So just so I am straight, with the wall signs, the one facing East Hanover is not lighted?
Correct.
Okay, but the one facing Speedwell is, and both monument signs are internally illuminated?
That's correct.
Okay, and then can you just go over again with the lighting poles? I know you're still seeking a waiver for the height, right?
Yes.
You're not proposing to lower them to the 15 feet?
Correct.
What are they existing, do you know?
We didn't do an exact measurement by eye, they're probably 20 to 25 feet.
Okay, so they're non-conforming
They are
currently?
non-conforming today, yes.
Okay, those are my only questions right now.
Board members? Questions? Andrew, start with you.
Who owns the fence between that lot and the laundromat? that the laundromats?
I'm not sure. It appears from survey as though it's right on the property line.
The reason I ask is there's an opening there, which made sense when there's a grocery store there. But I went by there tonight and the laundromat's just booming with people right now. And what they used to do is park in those spots right in, right, which probably isn't ideal once that's a lot. And it strikes me that if that opening in the gate went away, there'd be a disincentive to park there. So just a suggestion, the only other suggestion I had was on the landscape again. It'd be really nice if some of the perennials came in from, say, April to early June before the rutabaga came in, so there's color there all the time. Other than that, I thought the upgrades were good.
That's over my head. I'll pass that on though to our landscape architect. Sounds ideal. As far as the fence goes, we'll certainly look at that and
We'll
close
contact
the
the,
opening, yeah.
we'll contact the neighbor to see if we can work with them to close that.
No questions from me right now.
Mr. Bezold?
I think I spoke my questions.
Okay.
Do we know how close the parking spots are back there on that street though? I mean, are they right there?
Yeah, they're pretty close to it. They can't be more than 50 feet from the intersection of the stop sign, I think, so I would say it's minimum 50 feet.
And there's signage up there?
It was limiting parking sign, blah, blah, blah.
And there's permits.
And there's permits into it.
Two things. One is, when you're talking about hazardous waste, and this was on the waste and hazardous materials management, we talked about it in your testimony last time. The only two hazardous wastes that were mentioned was coolant and brake fluid. Is that still the case, or is there, it's on that big long list of things? There's a lot more.
I mean, windshield wiper fluid, which I believe Ms. Brandy spoke to, coolants, brake fluid. I'm just trying to look, this font on this is the smallest, and I have new glasses, Ms.
That's why Bill didn't see it.
By the way, Mr. Parrott, did you submit that to the board secretary as well?
Yeah.
You said you emailed it to me.
Everyone was on the.
All right, I didn't, I'm sorry.
Liz, did you get it?
I'm double checking, yeah.
But in any event, I can circulate it to you. I mean, I can have it circulated. There's a number of items consistent with Ms. Brandy's testimony that these are items that are found in any service center. Frankly, less than what's found in most service centers. But, you know, glass cleaner, I see glass, I see brake fluid. Some of these words I can't even pronounce. They're, transmission fluid was one of the items. But again, yeah, similar to what's, you know, there's nothing that's inconsistent, I would say, with Ms. Brandy's testimony. These are all similar fluids.
Okay.
I think her testimony that these are lesser quantities than you find in a non-electric vehicle service
Yes.
center.
The reason I'm asking, because
Yes.
on page 2 of the documentation, it says only RCRA trained personnel shall move or handle hazardous waste. So the reason I'm asking is there always someone on site that can handle hazardous waste? And I was just trying to figure out, like, is it, you know, really bad hazardous waste, and if there's no one
Great
on
question.
site, is
Yeah,
it a problem?
you just jogged my memory to what Ms. Brandy's testimony was, that the staff is trained, and that's the purpose of the SOP. The confusion is that they have a separate vendor that comes in and picks it up and removes it. But to your point, the people that are trained to work in the service center are all trained to handle
Okay.
that. That's part of the SOP.
Okay.
So you're correct.
Perfect, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then the second question, your head was right in the middle of that diagram, so I couldn't see it. Could you, I feel like I'm stuck on this question, but can you point out where that entrance exit that you're proposing that gets closed is on that diagram?
Sure, so right here is where it is, so it would line up with the front of the building, where it does today, and comes right out to East Hanover, and that's what's being closed.
Okay, so on that diagram, because I really can't see it from here, are you proposing that landscaping goes across it now?
That's correct.
Right? Okay,
Landscaping
so
goes all the way
people can't drive
across.
through
We
it
have
then.
one new street tree to fill in the cadence
Okay.
where the driveway used to be.
Alright, so that's a big deterrent, but the other thought I had in my head, and you guys, this might not make any sense, but you're going to county to talk to them about a bunch of stuff. Presumably, that curb cutout is still there, on the street, right?
That's
On
further up,
Hanover?
that's up at the.
It's not, it doesn't line up with that. Okay,
Our curb cut?
No, there's another one she's talking
The
about.
entrance, for the entrance there, the existing one.
Existing one. So we're gonna replace that with full height curb all the way across.
that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony today. With the traffic plan that you showed the car carrier plan. I think before it was mentioned, there's 3 additional plans for
Correct.
traffic flow. Do you mind, do you have those?
We have them all, yeah.
Can we just take a quick look at them? I'm just, for
Certainly.
my benefit and the benefit of the public, I'd like to be able to see what those look like.
They are all part of the plans. I'll just flip the board over.
Let's mark, Rob, this is A8. Which one is that?
So A8 is the delivery vehicle. Again, with today's date of January 19th, but it is from plan set of January 7th. What that shows is a delivery vehicle, like a box truck type vehicle, that would be able to make a right turn in off of East Hanover, a turn back into the loading area, and then pull out, making a right turn, all within the through lanes, the first through lane of East Hanover.
Okay.
A9?
A9 will be the refuse vehicle. Again, 1/19/2026 from the plans of January 7th. That shows the refuse vehicle making a right turn in off of East Hanover, coming across the front of the building to the trash enclosure, front load, and then exiting out with a right turn onto Speedwell Avenue.
Okay.
And the final
A10.
fourth would be A10. And this is a fire truck. Again, today's date, 1/19/2026, from the plans of January 7th. Shows a fire truck able to make the right turn in and circulate and ultimately make a right turn out onto Speedwell. This was part of the plan set, so I believe it would be circulated to the fire department. And there would be, we don't anticipate any issues with this one.
Okay, so with this one in particular, this is the first time that you're introducing this, the fire vehicle? Or was it introduced?
It was in the plan set, the revised plan set. So,
Revised plan set,
first
okay.
time it's been seen.
So it's the first time to see it, okay.
Not
So I'd be curious to see if they have any input on reaching the back of that building by Buckley Way. Right, because you don't.
To
you don't
stage
show-
on Buckley Way and
Stage on the book, but nothing.
Right, well, I understand what you're saying, I'm just curious to see if they have any feedback on that, to be able to reach the building from Buckley Way, just with the apparatus they currently have, so it's more of a comment, it's not a question.
I will say there's arborvitae and overhead wires there, so
Okay.
it'd be unlikely that you would do any staging on Buckley Way to.
Okay, so then they would need to access the back of that building directly from the driveway there, right? So in other words, they turn in from Hanover, and instead of making the left in the parking lot, they go straight back. Is there enough room for them to do that?
I don't know what their protocol is today for responding. If that happened tonight, I don't know what they would do.
Sure.
Well, we're showing that it can get in, hit two sides of the building as it does today and get out. Ultimately, obviously, the fire officials will provide feedback on that.
Okay, but can you answer, is there enough room for a fire vehicle to get to the, let's say, Buckley Way side of the building?
The drive lane here is wide enough to accept a vehicle,
Okay.
certainly, and then it could back out and exit. yeah.
Okay, all right, that's what I was asking. Okay, thank you. And just to clarify, which I think you did, but just on the lighting, so I think you called it site lighting, right? So it's the parking lot lights, right? Those you said are during during business hours, what is the output of those lights during business hours?
The average on the site is about a half a foot candle, in the pavement area, it's about 1.4 foot candles.
Okay. I believe you mentioned earlier that, was there a comment earlier about, changing that light level at night, or that's gonna stay as is?
Rivian's preference from an operational standpoint with the vehicle inventory here is to keep the lighting at the levels that are proposed, which are generally around the minimum industry standard for a facility like this. We did supplement the perimeter landscaping to provide some screening and shielding from the right-of-way and from the residents. Ultimately, obviously, we'll listen to the board's feedback, but that's our preference, is to not adjust the lighting in the overnight hours.
Okay, so it would stay at roughly half a foot candle throughout 24 hours a day? Okay. And then I believe, the December, meeting, I believe you stated that it would, give off about 3,000 Kelvin, a yellowish hue, is that correct?
The design the design is 3,000 Kelvin, correct?
Okay, and so that yellowish hue, that's still LED?
It's, yes.
Okay, but it's not as jarring to the eye at night?
Right, yeah, that's, in fact, I don't remember if that was response to some of the comments or our design, but that's been a comment a lot lately, is to, originally the LEDs were a very bright, intense light.
Right.
I've seen across the board, more and more of our applications, we've been designing them to 3,000 Kelvin, which is a much more comfortable color temperature.
And do we know, just out of curiosity, right, if we wanted those lights to be dimmed, is that possible with those types of fixtures? In other words, like I know like some, and I'll just use residential lighting for example, right? Depending on the ballast that you have in the light, you can get a dimmable ballast or non-dimmable ballast, right? It allows you to dim the light or not, right? So the question is, do lights like that, do they have the ability to have a type of ballast attached to it per se, that would allow it to dim if we wanted it to be able to?
There are components that can do that, yes.
Okay.
I don't know that we could decide next year to go back and make them dimmable if they're not installed that way. I think you'd have to get the components going in, but yes, there are components that allow for dim.
So, I mean, it would seem to me that it would be pretty reasonable to put those components in day one, so if we wanted to be able to dim them at some point in the future, because we find that half a foot candle, although on paper it sounds great, but to the residents, it's actually not good. Gives us the ability to dim those down or turn them off without having to completely change out the fixture. So I think my request is that, if we could look into changing the components out to make them dimmable day one, and then we could go with the recommended light levels, and then if we have an issue in the future, we could address it with the components that are already installed. So that'd be my recommendation. And then the last thing I questioned the last meeting had to do with the landscaping. I know that you made some improvements to landscaping is there. I did question the amount of parking spaces that are there. I didn't see the need for, I think you said it's now down to 163 spaces. I still don't understand the need for that many for a service center that only has, 25 to 35 people working there, plus it's not a dealership. So I just don't quite understand that many spaces. But that aside, I did question or ask about the opportunity to add some green space. Yes, I understand you did a lot with trees, but again, as the entrance to the Borough of Morris Plains, it would be great if there were some sort of a, green space, park, something that's there that would make it a little bit more pleasing to the eye than what's been there. And I get, yes, it's been a supermarket, it's been a parking lot, but just because it was done that way in the past doesn't mean that's what it needs to be in the future. So my request last time, was that looked into at all, or?
You just used the word park, I don't know if a park is really
So,
something that.
you're right,
Rivian
I didn't
is-
say park, I said green space,
But-
right? But I think the request was to go back to the building owner to see if they would be amenable to doing some sort of a green space other than what's been proposed.
So what we did was we went back, we looked at satisfying the 10-foot setback and getting the vegetation, landscape, and green space along the frontage. We also went back and you know, revisited what Rivian needs. I think some of the, as I mentioned, some of the numbers that Ms. Brandy stated were sort of the out of the gate parking demand numbers. I was involved in their application in Avenel and Woodbridge. That was a little bit larger building at 42,000 square feet, but it had 188 spaces. So, but as far as a typical Rivian, we're really right where they want to be as far as, and that's really why they looked at this site, is the size of the building, the capacity of parking is what Rivian targets and needs for their planned growth. If they want to be a successful part of the community here, and to do that, they need to be able to not just have the I think it was 75 to 80 or so kind of spaces out of the gate, but to be able to grow into what they expect to be able to do. As Ms. Brandy said, they have new vehicles launching soon. As more and more customers are from this area, this region, it'll grow. So as many businesses start with, you know, an initial demand, and then it grows as the business grows. So long way around, this is similar to what they've done elsewhere, and this is what really the driving factor is for them picking sites, I think.
I think just to clarify the point about what's done elsewhere, I think last time I asked, the locations of the other Rivian service centers, they were in more urban areas. I believe the testimony last time was that there was no service center that was in a suburban area like Morris Plains, right? This would be the first one.
Just want to clarify, Ms. Brandy mentioned the Avenel Woodbridge one abuts residences.
Right, but it's also on Route 1, I believe.
Correct, but
Right.
behind it are all, according to Ms. Brandy's, all residential. That was her testimony.
Right, but their Route 1 is considerably different than Hanover and Speedwell, right? So you have a much higher traffic volume than you would here. And I understand the point that, you know, it was abutting residential, but there's hasn't been one that's right in the middle of residential. Anyway, it's just my opinion. So I guess the answer to the question is that outside of doing what you proposed here, there's not been any conversation about additional green space, correct?
Correct, and it goes to a balance with what Rivian needs in the site that they're gonna occupy, and as far as the landlord, for again, if this were to become something else, if this were to go back to a grocery or something like that, this is a 3+ acre site on a primary corner here that, you know, that's how it's zoned and considered, so that's what this proposal is.
Sure, and I just one last point there, I think Ms. Brandy did say that, you know, for planned expansion, right? But I don't think I was ever really clear on what that means, in terms of what sort of expansion, what sort of things does Rivian envision needing 167 parking spots for? And I don't think I was ever really clear on that point.
I think it was, as Mr. Fruit said, and Ms. Brandy said as well, they're, you know, launching new models. I mean, as a new model comes online, they expect to have the capabilities to service more vehicles, and this is, you know, the plan for the future, so there is no, according to Ms. Brandy's testimony, negative impacts if they didn't have enough parking. So I think that launching new vehicle lines, and based on, you know, real data from real sites, as Mr. Fruit testified, this is consistent with what they need to meet that growing demand if new models are launched.
Okay.
When new models.
Yeah, the size of the building has a number of service bays in it, so that, and they're the experts, they know what the cadence is for servicing vehicles based upon the number of bays that are there, and those bays then equate to an ideal amount of a preferred amount of parking within that facility to handle the bays and the turnover that can happen there. And as we said, the traffic study was based upon full build out, which is still a significantly lower amount of traffic than was there when it was an Acme or that could be there with the reoccupancy. So it's a very low traffic generator, but for them to invest in this size building with that number of bays, they probably expect that they'll have that many cars through the site at any given time.
And what is that number of bays, can you remind me?
I don't wanna misspeak. Eight bays,
It's 8 bays? Okay.
all inside the building.
That's across the back of the building inside?
I'm sorry?
It's across the back of the building on the inside?
Generally across the back, yeah.
How come it looks like there's spots on each side of the building, Hanover side and the other side, where there's 2 vehicles and then 2 vehicles again?
So the entrance to
I
the,
don't have it in front of me, so I was looking at it.
we have enough board. So, the floor plans, these are part of the package, these were presented at the last hearing, I don't know if they need to be another exhibit, but just for the board, I wanna make sure, the orientation of the architectural floor plan is the same as the orientation, of the site. So the bottom of the page, is where East Hanover would be, the left side of the page where Speedwell would be, this is the facade of the building facing Speedwell, so you have an entrance on the northwest corner of the building, comes in, cars will circulate around, and they can come out, again, back towards Speedwell, and the bays are generally, yes, on the back half of the building, if you will.
Yeah, it's a total of 8 bays?
And there's no service being done on the Hanover side and the Rose Arbor side? That would be the.
There's no service being done outside the building.
No, inside the building, I'm just using that as an example as to location, north and south.
There was a car wash.
I'd have to defer to the architect, there
Because
are
on
some,
one of the plans, it shows a vehicle, 2 vehicles on the north and 2 vehicles.
I understand, but I'm not the architect, so I can't say what's happening in that graphic. There, one says wash bay, I don't know what these two,
For the car wash.
Yeah?
So it is a total of 8 bays. Is that correct? It's a total of 8 bays, right? So then, just, again, sorry, back to the point, right? 163 parking spaces for future expansion, presumably, they're not gonna expand the building, right? So they're only gonna ever have a maximum of 8 cars in there at one time. So, again, I fail to see the need for that many parking spaces, regardless of what the expansion plan is. And I'll state it again, that I see it's a great opportunity for Rivian to come in to be able to provide a green space, a much needed green space at the entrance of Morris Plains. So, that's all the questions I have.
I would want to clarify, it wouldn't be 8 cars at one time on site. You said there's 8 bays, there wouldn't just be 8 cars. If anybody's had a car service, you know, you're gonna stage, you're gonna wait for that car will wait for its time in. So that's part of the purpose of the parking in the lot.
Sure, I understand that, and, I understand that there, you know, you'd have cars queuing, I take my car to get serviced all the time, right? There's more cars that are queuing there than are actually bays, right? But I find it hard to believe there'd be 167, in that location, so.
But they can new cars as well, storage, as well as repairs too.
But it's not a dealership, it's a service center. So, anyway, that's all the questions I have, Mr. Garavaglia. Thank you.
Mr. Cianciano?
I have no questions. I'm good.
Look, I have a couple questions, honestly, I think they're easy answers. So number 6, on the response, there's a dead tree along the northerly property line, which should be removed, you said you're gonna remove it, but I think we agreed, and it's in the minutes, you're going to not only remove it, you're gonna replace it.
Yes.
Okay, so, I have no problem with 160, what, 4?
Yes.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if Rivian did grow? I think that would be a wonderful thing for the borough. How service a vehicle? Can anybody answer that? Half hour, an hour, 2 hours?
Again, I don't know.
No, nobody? Normally, let's say what, an hour, let's say an hour and a half. You drop off your car, maybe you're waiting, right? What do you do in this service center? I mean, is it possible if I drop my car off there that I might walk up the street and go to the pizzeria or Dunkin' Donuts or the diner?
No.
I think this will be great for the borough of Morris Plains as far as getting people to use our other services and our other vendors here. I mean, it's possible they may not want to sit there in the lounge, right? Maybe go get a cup of coffee at Dunkin' or, yeah. You think that's possible?
I do.
Good, I do too. I think that would be great. That's all I have.
Thank you.
If I could just follow up on a couple things in my report. Comment number D2, the no left turn prohibition by the county to make the left eastbound on Hanover into the site access drive, that's not permitted. And I did see, hopefully I didn't miss it, but I didn't see on the site plan the no left turn sign that was flagged. So you just gotta add to the plan. And the other thing, we've got this issue of wanting the left turn out of the easterly access drive. But right now, as the plan stands, my comment A2 said that for the right out arrow that's shown there now, which hopefully we're gonna get changed, that there should be an only painted behind it. So those are the two things I had. And then the last thing is really for the board, based on the discussion before about the applicant going to the county and stressing the various points that were brought up, and certainly the one, and I without hearing from everybody, that to allow the left out, Acme had it before with far more traffic, which is an argument they can make, it was there for tens of years, that the board supports the left out and not connecting to the Buckley. So I heard from a few members, I just want to be sure if they strongly make that representation, that the board supports them. And you don't come back and find out 50% did and 50% didn't. Well, it's only for them, for making their argument, supporting their argument to the board, because that's a very important back piece of it. I mean, so some direction should be given to them on that.
I mean, I think
how the board
the
feels.
board is supportive of that, based on what I heard, is that? Yeah.
I just didn't want them to be standing with what you are, what you are.
Makes sense. Mr. Maltz, just a question on your left turn, no left turn sign as you're sitting on Hanover. Where does that sign go?
There'd probably be two. One would be if you're going eastbound on Hanover and you come to the intersection, you probably have, looking on the far left corner on the Buckley Way, you probably have a sign, I'm going eastbound on Hanover. Here's the intersection coming out, and on that far left side, at the intersection, you have a sign facing you, and you probably have one along the curb line, the second one on the right side on East Hanover. So you'd have one here, you have one there. But obviously, it would be up to the county, what they would approve.
I have one question remaining on my list. It has to do with the storage of hazardous materials and waste. It's off your document. So on here it says containers shall always be closed during storage, except when waste is being added or removed. Your third-party hauler, do they take that container, that full container, and give you a new one? Or do they empty that container and leave it?
That's a great question. I don't believe Ms. Brandy got into that level of detail, but
Right.
how about if I get that answer for you while Mr. Paraguay's talking traffic?
Yeah, because we're talking safety,
Yep.
right? So if they're emptying that container into whatever it is they brought, probably not a concern with the protocols, but it's something to.
I'll get that answer for you, sure.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask the public to come up if they have any questions of this witness, this testimony. No? Okay.
Okay, I'd like to call Craig Paraguay. Craig is the traffic engineer that worked on this application, who's been, communicating with Mr. Maltz. He has not testified yet on this application, so we'll need to swear him in and qualify him.
Please remain standing. Raise your right hand, state your name, spell your last.
My name is Craig Paraguay, P-E-R-E-G-O-Y.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give this evening before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Craig, for the benefit of the board and public, your education, area of expertise, and the license, if you will.
Sure, I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Virginia Tech. I'm a licensed professional engineer in New Jersey. I testify all the time, and including very, very, very long nights in front of this board about a year ago. License is still current and in good standing.
Chairman, I would offer Mr. Paraguay as an expert civil engineer specializing in traffic engineering.
Yes. Board okay with his credentials?
Thank you.
Very good.
Mr. Paraguay, you've heard the back and forth on the traffic. Mr. Maltz issued 2 reports. I know you've communicated with him in connection with this application. You've worked with the DOT, you've worked with the county. Can you provide some additional information regarding the questions you've heard this evening on the left turn out onto East Hanover, the expected turning movements for Rivian at that driveway?
Yeah, and listening to everything the board's been saying and Mr. Maltz saying, we're all on the same page here. We all agree that punching a driveway through the Buckley Way doesn't make any sense to take away that parking, only to make the left turn 50 feet farther down the road. So I think with the support of the board, I'm glad Mr. Maltz asked for that sort of discussion, because I think that goes a long way with the county. You already see in their review letter, they have a little bit of deference to the board, so I think it'll help if it comes from us and from you that, hey, we want to keep that left turn out as it is. In terms of quantifying the volume of traffic, it sort of depends on where people who have Rivians live, and really the only residential area that would be inconvenienced by not being able to make the left out is Seaman Knolls and that sort of area. Otherwise, you can go up to Route 10, you get to 287. But I happen to have, our firm at some point had done ATR, automatic traffic counter tubes. You put the tube on the road, gets you the 24-hour volumes on all 4 legs of the East Hanover Speedwell intersection. We're probably looking at some other applicant that may have wanted to go in here. So I dug that up, and I can take a look at the outbound volume that's going east on East Hanover as a comparison to all the other volume, and assuming prevailing traffic patterns applied to this, about 28% of the traffic heads eastbound as they leave that intersection. So if you apply that to the number of vehicles leaving here, it gives you 5 in the morning peak hour. Only 5 cars might want to make a left. 11 in the weekday evening peak hour, and 13 on a Saturday. So very small numbers. And as was discussed before, that's less than 1 car every 4 minutes. If you do that same math for when this was a supermarket, it's nearly 60 that would want to go in that direction. So I think that argument, that case, and I thank Mr. Maltz for pointing out, giving that other frame of reference to go back to the county, I think that's going to go a long way. I mean, to punch a new driveway, create another headache in a different part of town, only for 5 or so cars, 5 to 10 cars at most, that would want to make the left out of there, I don't think makes any sense. And, that's a pretty good basis for the numbers, but as I mentioned, it really is going to depend on where people who have Rivians. So if a lot of people who live in Cedar Knolls and have Rivians, maybe it'll be higher, but I doubt that. I think more people are going to be coming from a farther distance to this location because of the specialized nature.
Thank you.
I think that covers what, but, we don't need to go in any more unless you want.
No, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Do you have anything in the way of like, a figure like you have in the report that shows the site distribution with that analysis?
I have a little hand sketch if you want to take a look at it.
No, I don't need to think. Do you have anything on a sheet of paper summarizing the numbers?
Yeah, I mean, this
Or
does.
figures?
If you want to take a peek, I'd love to submit it. It's just that.
Craig, let me introduce that as an exhibit. That'll be-
Yeah, and explain what.
Yeah, what's on
It's-
A11?
I mentioned that we had done the traffic counting tubes. we make a figure for whoever we did those for, that show the volumes, and I just circled the outbound volumes and typed in the math, how I got to the 28%.
So that's a depiction of the ATR results?
Yes.
Could you, send a copy of this?
Yeah, sure, you guys.
All right.
It's good, though.
Did you mark it?
That's market, it's A11.
Last time I showed you this pen was, so I'm gonna go back to the table.
You want it?
Just send me a copy.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Mr. Maltz, you're good?
I'm fine.
Okay, Mr. Ryden?
No questions.
Do you have a date of when you did when your firm did this study?
The counts, they were from 2018, and as you know, we had much more recent counts on Speedwell, and I matched up the numbers going in and out of Speedwell pretty close. It hasn't changed that much.
So what those numbers reflect when Acme was still a supermarket?
If it was in 2018? No, I don't think so, because why would somebody have been looking at this site to develop if it was still open?
Wasn't it? It was.
I think it closed before 2018.
Okay, all right, I'm not sure.
But the
It was
goal
right
is to
around
get
that time.
the percentages,
Yeah.
not necessarily the actual volumes, so.
Board? I just have a question. It's not necessarily related, but, do you, in the work that you did for this application, did you consider what was done a year ago? Does that get considered in that? Or no?
What do you mean?
Other
The other
neighboring
application,
developments?
the one you referred to.
Oh, I mean, sure, in this case, we're looking at the delta between what was there and what could, like you said, Lidl or Aldi, somebody could go back in here, Trader Joe's, and generate a lot more traffic. Other permitted retail uses would generate a lot more. So this is a big improvement from a traffic perspective, so there's,
Correct. So, and maybe I'm not following, I'm sorry. So the other applicant, McDonald's, that now is proposed to go in the work, the traffic work that you did for Rivian, did you include what was done for McDonald's in?
no, one's not related to the other. If I were doing capacity analyses and things, then yes, I would have. But in this case, it's, hey, you got a site that generates this, is permitted to generate this, we're coming in with something
And
that
that's what you're
generates
doing?
this.
Okay. Yeah, I want to be clear.
And it wouldn't have changed those percentages.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough, thank you. Okay. Does the public have any questions for this witness?
I have a question. I'll just stand it too quick. Joanne Dugan, 31 Canfield. I just want to know, how can you use traffic information from 2018 with all the building that's gone on between that time and now? That's a long time ago. There's condos, all kinds of building all over this area. I don't think that's a reasonable time frame. That's it.
Craig, go ahead, you want to respond?
Sure, we use that information. Mr. Maltz asked for an idea of how many people might want to make a left out. So the percentage distribution of that traffic was the best basis I had to make that estimation. That was it.
And just to be
It wasn't
clear,
used for any analysis or anything, it was to create.
You're not trying to use that information to demonstrate volumes on the roadways.
No.
You're talking about, okay, that's the
Right,
confusion.
I was using that information to establish a percentage of traffic volume. Who leaves that intersection, what percent goes east, west, north,
Right.
south? Because that would dictate how many people might want to make a left.
Yeah, I still don't think that's a good number.
Anyone else? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Paraguay. We're going to recall Mr. Prude to provide some planning testimony. There are only a few variances and design waivers remaining, I believe. Mr. Prude, before I do that, Chairman, I wanted to get you your response to your question. The waste vendor takes the container as is, closed container as is, there's no transfer, and replaces the fresh container. So there's no transfer from one to the other.
Excellent.
Mr. Fruit, you are a licensed professional planner, you were qualified on December 8th as such, correct?
Yes.
Can you, for the board and the public, run through the remaining relief that's requested as part of the preliminary and final major site plan application? Throughout the course of these proceedings, your firm has worked diligently to eliminate as many requests as possible. Can you just summarize where we are as far as which relief is still needed and address that from a planning perspective?
Certainly. And I'll break it down into a couple key categories. There are 3 bulk variances that exist today that will remain, that have not been eliminated. There are variances related to the freestanding building mounted signs, and then there are several waivers that are being requested. So collectively, we look at that either as if it's a variance, we look at the positive, negative criteria, or we look at it as a hardship variance. But taking a step back, we've talked about this throughout the course of both evenings that we've been here. This is a pretty unique project. It's centered around adaptive reuse of the existing building, but it's able to provide a significant reduction in traffic. So I think there's a really strong positive aspect of this application just by virtue of the use that's going in here. We're taking a sound structure, reusing it, rehabilitating it, giving it a fresh look, slightly reducing the impervious coverage, improving the circulation, improving the landscaping. So it's really a good adaptive reuse and redevelopment here. It's certainly a unique piece of property. We have uniquely 3 frontages. It's not often you have 3 frontages, 1 state, 1 county, 1 local. We have access, as you know, to 2 of those. We're reducing the total access. So that makes it a relatively, again, unique from a frontage standpoint. That also creates some challenges when you're looking at some of the variances that exist today or some of the waivers that we're asking for that are related to the front yard. So to quickly run through the bulk variances, again, there are 3 that are remaining. We did eliminate variances for front yard setback of parking to both East Hanover and Speedwell through the course of this application. We talked about that significantly. The ones that remain, there is a minor side yard parking setback of 9.6 feet that exists today. That's adjacent to a lot to the north. Loading is not allowed in the, or should be in the side or rear yard, therefore it's not allowed in the front yard. We have 3 frontages. Our building abuts our 1 non right-of-way frontage, so that makes it practically difficult to comply with that ordinance, and that's an existing condition on the east side of the property that's going to remain. And finally, we talked briefly about maybe upgrading the fence, but there's a fence that exists with lot 1.09 that is generally on the property line when it should be a foot off the property line. That's an existing condition, and we will look to fill the gap in there with the neighbor working on that. Those are the bulk variances. Sign variances, again, two components. One is the freestanding signs. We have eliminated, again, the variances related to height, clearance, and vertical dimension of those signs, so the size and shape of those signs is now compliant. The variants are related to the number of signs. One is permitted in the ordinance. We're seeking permission for 2 signs. We have 2 distinct frontages on the state and county highway, 2 distinct driveways and entrance points, and therefore we're seeking the freestanding or monument signs on each of those driveways. Second is the material, that would be a wood-like material. As we notice, the detail shows it's an aluminum side cabinet. One of the benefits of that is because it's a darker black cabinet with just the carving out of the letters and logo, the illumination from the inside actually presents probably a softer illumination level than if it were a wood material with an uplight or something on it. So I think there's actually a benefit there, in this case, the material selection. Next to the building mounted signs, we have a couple of variances associated with building mounted signs. Predominantly, number of signs. 1 wall sign is permitted on each wall facing the street. Primary signs, we have the Rivian sign and the logo, but as your planner pointed out, the way this ordinance reads, anything that is a graphical representation on the building becomes a sign. So we have, and I went through them before, we have the mailbox identifier, the key drop identifier, a no tailgating sign, the service sign, advertisement of surveillance on the property. All those signs are relatively small. They're 2 square feet, a half a square foot, very small signs, really just intended for a customer or pedestrian as they're walking up to the building, not certainly visible from the street. So I think those number of signs are certainly unique and not in an advertising method as you might consider a typical sign. Just for clarity for the board, it's outlined in the plans, but there's a total of 5 signs facing East Hanover. Again, none of those will be illuminated. There's a total of 10 signs on Speedwell. The predominant sign is the Rivian sign and the logo. Those will be illuminated. None of the other signs will be illuminated. And finally, there are 2 of the very small signs on the east facade, which are about a half a square foot. The maximum sign area is 40 square feet. As we accounted for all of the individual informational signs on the building, the west facade, or the Speedwell Avenue facade, becomes 40.39 square feet. So it's a de minimis variance, in my opinion, from the 40 that's allowed. Again, the primary Rivian sign is compliant. It's really the addition of all the smaller informational signs that creates that variance condition. And finally, is the maximum sign height, where 1 foot is allowed. The Rivian signs are 2 feet high, and the Rivian logo is 1.33 feet high. Again, these signs are set back significantly from the right-of-way. So in order to have the sign recognition from the street, the letter height, in my opinion, appropriately should be larger than 1 feet. And that's why we have the 2 feet proposed here. Illumination of signs, we talked about that. The ordinance requests that lighting signs be indirectly illuminated. Only the Rivian sign facing Speedwell will be illuminated. We've modified the plan to eliminate illumination on the others. Finally, is probably a more minor variance of business or commercial establishment. As permitted, a permanent window sign painted on the inside of the glass. We have the total area of such signs shall not exceed 5% of the glass. We do comply with that. But the Rivian logo graphics proposed on the entry door is 0.44 square feet, and that requests a variance. That's the extent of the variances. I'll come back and circle back as to the planning discussion on those variances. I just want to go through the waivers briefly on here. Waivers related to lighting. No light source shall exceed 15 feet in height. We discussed both in December and again a little bit this evening. Existing lights are probably 20 to 25 feet high. We're proposing the light that is 20 feet high, so it's probably less than what is there today. It's also now an LED downward focus fixture. Because of the way the parking is laid out, it will require significantly more poles and fixtures to get appropriate illumination levels with a 15-foot high light fixture. Next is a minimum of a half-foot candle is required anywhere in the parking area. We have 0.1 foot candle proposed. Again, that is in the southwest corner of the property or the remotely used parking spaces along East Hanover Avenue. And finally, light intensity shall not exceed a half a foot candle along the property line or 0.3 foot candles along a residential property line. 2 instances where that's exceeded, we do exceed a half foot candle on our shared property line with lot 1.09, which is the laundromat. Commercial to commercial, I don't see much impact there. And the second is next, we exceed 0.3 foot candles next to Arbor Terrace Assisted Living. That is in the northwest corner, so closest to Speedwell Avenue, not immediately adjacent to their building, more near their entrance. One thing to point out at both of these is our lighting studies and these numbers, these values don't account for things like fences, landscaping, or other things that might interfere or diminish the light levels on site. So while the measured levels in the lighting program that we use show the exceedance, the actual lighting will be less in those areas because of the interference provided by the landscaping and the fencing. The final waiver that we're requesting is related to the trash enclosure. As I talked about at the beginning, of the planning discussion and through the civil testimony, we have 3 frontages. The trash enclosure cannot be in the front yard. It is, in this case, in front of the building towards Speedwell Avenue. We're moving it there so that it is out of the loading area. We are providing it with the veneer, the capstone, providing timing restrictions, so that will minimize any noise impacts related to the removal of garbage. Also, by putting the brick veneer on it, if you were to look at this from Speedwell Avenue, you're over 300 feet away, you will see this, excuse me, the side face of the trash enclosure with the building behind it. It'll generally blend together, and it won't be obvious or apparent. So that's a quick recap of the variances and waivers they're requesting and some of the individual discussions on them. Now to talk from a planning perspective about the bulk variances and waivers. Again, these can be viewed through either C1 hardship because of the frontages or of the existing building, or C2, which is a planned and flexible C variance a lens, where we look at positive and negative criteria specifically with 3 primary focal points. The first is that this is a specific piece of property. Again, not to go over, to repeat, but this is unique. We've got the 3 frontages. We've got an existing building that we're reusing that certainly creates a specific piece of property. That not only provides the basis for the C1 or hardship variance for some of these because of the front yard setbacks, but also a foundation for the C2 variance that this is a unique piece of property. Second is that the variances advance purpose in municipal land use law, and I'll go through each of those briefly. And then finally, that the benefits outweigh the detriments. So to go through briefly advancing purpose of the municipal land use law to the bulk variances and waivers, there are several, I think, that apply here. First is point A, which is to provide adequate light, air, and open space. Again, this is an adaptive reuse and redevelopment application. We're maintaining the existing building that's in compliance with the FAR standards in the ordinance. We're also reducing the overall impervious coverage. So we satisfy that from a light, air, and open space standpoint. The de minimis setback variances that do remain, however, the overall plan is much improved from what exists today. Second is purpose H, to encourage the location of and design of transportation routes which will promote the free flow of traffic while discouraging location of such facilities and routes which result in congestion or blight. Certainly a lot of the discussion over these 2 hearings has been about traffic and circulation, the intersection and the driveways. Elimination of one of the driveways on East Hanover is a significant improvement. The reduction in total trip generation by this use will be a significant improvement, and to not only this site, but to the intersection and surrounding area. Third here is purpose I, is to promote a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangement. Again, the overall improvements to the site significantly improve the aesthetics along the visible road corridor. We have a few de minimis waivers for light level and fence location, which I believe are significantly mitigated through the landscaping that's provided not only along Speedwell, but on East Hanover as well. Now to flip, and I can move quickly, the sign variances, same proofs. In this case, it's more of a the C2, the positive and negative criteria for the signs, but the same purpose, same intent of proof here. Again, same reasons. This is a unique piece of property. The advancements of purpose of the municipal land use law are a little bit different here, but purpose A is to encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate development of all lands in the state in a manner which will promote the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. With regard to the signs, the monument signs serve to promote health, safety, welfare by letting the visitors know the location of the driveways, improves traffic circulation, improves flow of traffic on the roads. And that goes also to purpose H, which is to encourage the location and sign of transportation routes, which will promote free flow of traffic. Again, the signs will help promote free flow of traffic by identifying those driveway locations on each of the road frontages. And the design intent of those with the internal illumination will be less impactful, in my opinion, than an external illuminated sign. And that goes to purpose I, which is a desirable visual environment. The building signage fits with the aesthetic of the building. The building signage generally complies as far as what is visible from the street, the Rivian sign, the size, and the letter height of that relative to the setback is appropriate. Many of the signs are less than 2 square feet, and although they are counted in our sign table and in the sign calculation, they really have minimal impact on the road frontages or on the visibility from the road frontages. So with that, we look at potential negative criteria, negative impacts. I believe that any visual impacts, either from granting of the existing nonconformities, the waivers, or the sign variances, is mitigated by the extensive setbacks from the street and by the additional landscaping and buffering that's provided. With that, based upon all of the discussion we've had and the positive criteria that we described, the lack of significant negative impacts, it's my opinion that there's no substantial detriment to the public good if these variances are granted, and the granting of variances will not substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan. In all, again, this is a adaptive, reuse, redevelopment, rehabilitation of a building and a property that'll put it back into utility in town, hopefully generating productive use and use of neighboring uses and other activity within the town with a much lower traffic generator.
Thank you. Chairman, I have nothing further for the planner on direct.
Okay. Ms. Leheny, questions?
I don't have any questions, Mr. Frood.
Yeah, Fruit.
Frood, not Freud. Mr. Frood correctly identified the criteria of the planning proofs that needed to be addressed. Most of the bulk variances are related to signage, and he provided testimony indicating that because of the essentially three front yards, and the need to have sort of identification signage, particularly on both Hanover and Speedwell, that you need these sort of multiple wall signs and monument signs. Additionally, there are all of these sort of other wall signs like key drop, just for like whatever, these small little signs that get added. That frontage where there are 10 wall signs, which is on Speedwell, it's set back 300 feet from Speedwell. They're all very small, and cumulatively, they actually are just over, I think you said 40.39 square feet. You're permitted 40 square feet, so even with all that signage, they're still just about what is permitted. So I don't have anything else.
Mr. Ryden?
No questions.
Mr. Moss? No. Okay. Board members?
Do. Sorry, so you went through that very quickly, but I appreciate it. You did just on the signage, I just want to make sure I got my information correct here. You said there's 5 that are East Hanover facing.
Did I say that again?
Sorry, you said as far as the wall signage facing the street, right? You said there were 5 that are facing East Hanover?
Correct.
There were 10 facing Speedwell?
Correct.
And then you said there were 2 facing Buckley? Is that right? Okay. And that's it? There's nothing on the, I'll say the plain north side?
The north facade, correct.
There's nothing up there?
Correct.
Okay, and the 2 that are facing Buckley, what are those?
I believe they are like surveillance and no tailgating. They're about
Okay,
half
so
a
they're
square
just
foot. They're small, very small signs.
very small, just affixed to the wall, okay. Okay, that's it, thank you.
Okay. Public have any questions for this witness? No? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Fruit. Chairman, that concludes our presentation.
Okay. Any closing statements?
I'll reserve if you want to open up for public comment, and I'm not sure if anyone has any comments.
I don't think there were, so,
Okay.
at this point.
I'll be very brief. I wanted to thank the board and the board's consultants throughout the process. You've assisted us make this plan much better. I think where it is now incorporates the recommendations from the various board members, public. We've come up with a plan that really, as Mr. Fruits testified, really repurposes the site, brings life to it. The landscaping is a significant improvement, bringing this business to Morris Plains is a substantial benefit. The relief that's left, as you've heard from Mr. Fruit is just, again, essentially existing non-conforming conditions that are attributable to the three frontages. The uses of permitted use, the site plan has been greatly improved, everything from landscaping, lighting, it's really bringing a site to current standards. And that's the opportunity that the board had with this application, to take an old site and really bring it back to life. So again, we're thankful where we've ended up, thanks to you and your consultants. We appreciate that. We've worked tirelessly to provide you with a plan that is good for the borough and good for Rivian. So the final thing I'd like to say is that the conditions that we've agreed to, I think, demonstrate good faith of the company. The restriction on the refuse, we understand there are some residences on East Hanover trying to limit the impacts with the lighting and having signs turned off. Demonstrates that Rivian wants to be a good neighbor in Morris Plains. And again, we're going to continue to work with your consultants and the county. We hear you loud and clear, and Mr. Maltz. And I think his recommendation is an excellent one. If the board were inclined to approve this application, it would be very helpful to us to have some statement or two that says that the board would like to support the applicant's discussion with the county to allow those limited lefts. I think that'll give us the ammunition, for lack of a better word, we need with that discussion. We don't want to hold up our progress with you, but we were certainly committed to continue to work with the county. It's in the betterment of both the applicant and the town. So again, thank you for your time and your consideration. We appreciate the public's interest and involvement, and as well as all of your comments and feedback. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the application, approve the application, granting the remaining variances and design waivers, incorporating all the comments and the testimony, subject to the approval by the county, I guess, planning board, with regard to the turning left turns off out of the property, and request that that Mr. Brewer prepare a resolution of approval for our next meeting.
Excuse me, may I say, is it a draft that resolution, or are you?
No,
approving
I'm
it?
asking for an approval of the application, and then Mr. Brewer will prepare the resolution for our next meeting. So it would be approved tonight, subject to the county, you and the county getting together and resolving those issues with the left turn.
So just to be clear, in the event that the county does not agree to allow the left turns, the applicant has accepted that restriction, and I'm wondering, is the board saying that you would not approve the application? Because we're going to continue to work and put forth that argument, but if the county does not agree, the applicant is comfortable living with that restriction, and I just want to be sure that, I don't want it to be that this application is only approved if the county allows us to make lefts.
No,
I don't,
no, that's,
yeah, I was-
Let me ask Mr. Maltz, if the county does not approve the left turns out, can the board approve those left turns out?
No,
We have to
it's county
reconvene and do
jurisdiction.
that? That's their jurisdiction.
It's their jurisdiction. You're making a recommendation that's why I wanted the consensus of the board.
Yep.
For the applicant to go to them and say, this is how the board unanimously feels, and for the reasons. There were a number of reasons, traffic,
Okay.
Buckley Way, and all those other things.
less volume,
Yeah,
Right.
Past history,
And they're okay to revert back to where we were, right, with no left turns?
Correct,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
going to live with the restriction that's shown in our plans, but with the representation to you all that we're gonna continue to fight to allow us to make the lefts.
and then you can represent to them that we have agreed to do, right.
And your resolution will
That's gonna
help
be
us
the
do that.
Right.
correct, correct.
I just don't want the board to think that if the county doesn't allow us, that we have to come back for an amendment.
No, I
It would
think,
be, it would be a condition that they go to the county, request the left-hand turn, and that because the board, that's the preference of the board for that.
Right, right,
Perfect.
preference.
okay.
Yes.
Preference is key, right.
I have a question before, are you going to ask for vote?
I was gonna ask for a second, but
Okay, I have a question before we do that. just so I'm clear, did Rivian not agree to dim the lights after, the site lights after, 7 PM, I guess, when it closes?
I think Mr. Farood said that he would defer to the boards, we heard Mr. Ryden's position on it.
So I don't know how everybody else feels, I know this is not stadium lighting, right? I get it, it's not stadium lighting there, but, I do sort of like the idea of the lights being dimmed, and maybe it's not 7 o'clock, maybe it could be 9 o'clock, I don't know what the, how the lighting works and if it's, it can be done.
In my opinion, you'd want things to look a little vibrant there on the corner, not dark and like no activity is there.
I agree, I
Right,
just
so-
think, I don't know that it has to be a.
I think that they've provided certainly a lot of additional landscaping and trees and things that will mitigate anything, anything that would upset the neighbors, because the neighbor across the street last month testified that he was very comfortable with this.
I'm just saying, I think we should have the option that, until we see it. I don't feel comfortable.
Until we see it?
Yes, I don't feel comfortable just on paper saying, here's the numbers and this is what it's supposed to look like without, I'm a very visual person, without in actuality knowing what that looks like, so.
I can save you some time. The Rivian will agree to dim lights to accommodate what you're trying to accomplish. Whether it's all of them, some of them, I think we need to work that out to the satisfaction of the borough. But some of those lights can be dimmed and will be
And we
dimmed.
can leave that up to you and the engineer to determine what's the appropriate
Correct.
level at that point.
Correct. I
So
think
that
we'll-
you don't have to come back to us.
Right, we can work
Yeah.
with your planner and your engineer to just demonstrate that certain ones can stay on, certain ones should go off.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then this goes back to Mr. Houston's point before about trying to head this off at the path, do it now,
Sure.
and then if we need to use it, it's there.
So, I'm sorry, just to be clear, is one of the conditions then that the lights all have to be dimmable?
Right,
Like, all the
that was
pictures?
my request, is that
Not all the lights,
Yeah.
some of the lights, and it would be up to Mr. Ryden and
No, that they would be dimmable,
The
everybody, the
technology-
capacity
The
would be
technology
dimmed.
would be dimmable, and then
Right.
we'd have to determine which ones
Which ones would?
are appropriate.
Right, so they would all be dim capable.
I just say one thing, I mean, there's a safety element too to having lights on.
Correct.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
and I think the fact that lights are on discourages people from coming on the property and messing with the recharging stations, the new cars that are sitting there, the customers' cars, and also we're talking about downlighting, which I think we're thinking to be like really illuminating, and that may not be the case, so maybe having a provision that we visit this site when the lights are on to see exactly what we're dealing with, and having that condition might pass this through.
Well, let's let that be
Yeah.
to Mr. Ryden and.
The other thing as well is the Rivian's agreed to fix the sidewalks on Hanover and Speedwell Avenue, and you're gonna now have foot traffic there, hopefully, walking around again, so I wouldn't want those sidewalk areas dark, so.
And I think that they want, whether it's, at midnight or 6 o'clock in the morning, to know this is where the Rivian dealer is, or Rivian Service Center is.
Yes, agreed.
Right.
I think we can work with the board's professionals we know what the concern is. We don't want to have a negative impact on residents, but we want adequate safety on site and on the sidewalk.
Do you
Is there a second?
you wanna repeat what you said? Just, I'm sorry, I know you.
I think everybody got it, but, motion to approve the application, granting the remaining variances, design waivers, and incorporating the comments and testimony, and the changes agreed to on the record, subject to the approval by the county planning board with regard to the left turns, and, request Mr. Brewer to prepare a resolution of approval for our next meeting.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Karen?
Before anybody votes, we have to be sure that Mr. Cianciati and Mr. Malpere have,
So we do have that, so Mr., you wanna go?
That they certify that there isn't a taste.
I have, Mr. Cianciata has.
Yep.
Mr. Malpere has not, so he cannot.
Kevin, you got?
So we have that. Okay, roll call, Karen?
Mr. Wolff,
Yes.
Mr. Malpere,
I abstain?
Mr. Bezold,
Yes.
Mrs. Steckert,
Yes.
Mr. Cianciata,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mayor Carr,
Yes.
Mrs. McCluskey.
yes.
And Mr. Garavaglia.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you again for your time and
Thank you.
consideration, appreciate it, thank you.
I need the exhibits. What are the exhibits you had tonight?
It's about 7 minutes after 10. I'm gonna take a 7-minute break until 10:15.
So, we feel like this, I mean, that's dedication.
It is dedication.
Thanks, Sue.
You're welcome. Have a great night.
I see we're neighbors.
You're on,
Oh, okay. You haven't moved yet? Oh, okay. There you go. You too.
I just took a picture of that, the sounds of the game.
I think. Yeah.
Good, how are you? It has been. Talk about crazy, I just got an email.
I did too.